All right. Microphones are good. And Sunday grind. That's right. I actually have let me see if you can see. Let's do this. Yeah, I have to look like, kind of fresh for open house. So open house begins at 2 o'clock, and now that the open house, we got some time before the open house, I figured I can start a screen recording and go live. All right. So, okay, I had another video that was specific to the TireTread. I'm gonna try to knock this out today. The music I'm listening to is royalty free. Hopefully I won't get like my email from YouTube about my selection, but let me know if you're feeling the music. These two images I found online, so let's go ahead and start with creating this shape here. What I can see visually is just like a little indentation here. It goes up, does that, and then it kind of goes back in like this. I don't want to create anything too crazy. However, since this image is crooked, we'll do our very best to create a polygon cube that looks just like that. So let's start off by creating, actually let's use a plane. I'll start down here, and I'll end right there. So that's the shape. Okay, now the next thing that we should do is extrude, Control E, I'll move it forward like that, and then let's go ahead and get the shape to look a little bit better. So I'll click on this edge, that, and I'll bevel it. Actually, I'm going to hold Control and deselect the bottom part because it looks like the bevel on the bottom is much different than the bevel at the top. And since I have this rear view image, and you guys can go ahead and take a snapshot of this. Alright, so take a snapshot of this shape. So you could have it in your source images and then take a snapshot of this one. Okay. Cool. So let's do this. It's almost the right width. And I'll scale it a little bit higher. Okay, so first things first, we go to Edge. And I'm going to highlight this entire top section there. I'll hold Control to deselect the middle and then the right side. So if I go to my perspective, you can see that I just have these two selected. Alright, so I'll press 4, and then I'll go up top to Edit Mesh, Bevel. And the bevel fraction is going to look like this, and then I'll change the segments. Oops, something smoother. And if I press 5, I just added 1, 2 fractions. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is select these guys. I'll press 4. I'll press R to scale them towards me. Okay. I'm just looking at this side. I'm not really worried about the alignment of this of the left hand side of this guy. Okay, and kind of get this to align the best I can. Perfect. Now the last part, and I'm just going to select these vertices, move them up. You see, bottom vertices, move them up. Press 4, and I'll press R. Now I'm going to use the left side of the image plane as my reference. Earlier I used the upper right hand side for the reference, and now I'm going to use the bottom left hand side of the image plane as my reference. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and select this edge, hold shift, select that edge, and I'll go to edit mesh, bevel, let's get that down. I'll change the fraction, and I'll change the segments. And the reason why I'm making it so low, the segments, is because I don't want this to be an end-on. Okay. Now I've gone through all of that work. I'm gonna hold shift and then deselect everything else. And the reason why I'm doing this is so that when I use the multi-cut tool, I don't have to do the same thing to the back side of the object. Okay. Now let's go to the multi-cut tool. Let's go to multi-cut, and then I'll click right here. I'll go straight down with it. Press enter. You press Z to undo. Under my multi-cut tool option box, so mesh tools, multi-cut tool option box, I'm going to turn off edge flow. Go here, there, press enter, here, there, press enter, and now I have my quad. Do the same thing on the right side. It just makes life so much easier. If I hold shift, it puts it right in the center. Now, we just press Control E, drag this guy forward like that, and then go to object mode. Okay, perfect. So that's the front part of this guy. Now let's go ahead and select a few faces. Okay, so it already selected for us. So faces that we want to select are these guys. Let's press Control E, change the offset, and I actually like that width of the offset. However, there's a few areas that are maybe not ideal. Like you can see the vertices are kind of funky. So I'll change it to 0.15. Go to object mode, and then I'll go to a vertex here, press W, hold shift, select that one, and then move these guys in. And the reason why I did that is because of the vertex are too close together. I know if it did it on one side, it's going to do the same thing to the other side. So let's go ahead and do that. Move these guys over. And now, cool. Alright, so with that being said, we have that shape, looks cool. Let's select those faces again, Control E, I'll press W and move them back like that. Alright, so if I press 3, it's going to look really bad. not that bad. However, let's go ahead and go to edge, double click this edge, hold shift, right mouse click and hold, bevel, and change that fraction so it's really small. Let's double click this edge, press G to repeat the previous command, change the fraction so it's smaller, and if we press 3, there you go. And this shape right here on the inside is actually going to be a mirror, right? And it's going to be a different material. So let's select these faces. Sometimes they're hard to click. So don't get all fussy if you can't click on a face. As you can see, it's sometimes challenging. Alright, so we have this shape. Let's go to Edit Mesh, Extract, Object Mode in this, press W, and then I'll press Control E to give this guy a little bit of thickness forward, like that. Object Mode, sweet. So we press 3, that's our shape. We can press 3 on this guy, and I'll press Control 1. The shape is very thin. I get it. What we can do, you know what? I'm going to step back 2 steps because it's not a glass, right? I mean, it's a mirror, so we don't have to worry about extruding it, right? So let's undo. Let's not extrude that shape. Okay. Now, the next step, and I'm going to move my geometry out this way, is to get this inside or the back of this object. Good time to save. Side mirror, let's call that rear view. Save. Okay. Now, I'll go to face. I'll select these guys. And so for anyone that just chimed in, I'm working on the rearview mirror of our 69 Dodge RT Charger, my favorite all-time cars. Control E. Let's change the offset to something like this. And then I'll press delete. Let's go to edge, we'll double click this edge, Control E, and then we can just click on that arrow one time, bring it in, Control E again, and then let's move it back once, Control E again, and then move it back like that. Okay, so when we press 3, we have that shape. Let's go to edge, double click this edge, and then hold shift, right mouse click and hold, bevel, and let's change the fraction so it's small. And now I press 3. Alright. Last but not least, we're going to work on the back side of this shape, minus all of the grooves. I'm going to take this mirror shape that we used earlier, or better yet, yeah, let's use this shape. I'll just press Control D. I'll move it back about here, like that. I'll press R and scale it up a little bit so that it kind of intersects with that edge. Press W. Put it right here. Okay, so what we need to do is get a few distinct shapes. So like that, well, it never wants to work in my perspective. If I press 4. So shapes that we're going to try to get, going to be that little edge there. We could see that from here and here it kind of slopes down that way, and then it flattened itself out like right here, and then it's probably the widest or the highest from here to here. Okay, and all these little lines here, we might be able to do that, all depending on time. Like I said, I have an open house to go to at 2 o'clock, and I have to be there by 1:30, so let's get as much accomplished as we can. Alright, so I'm looking at the back side of this shape. Okay, and we need to reverse these normals. Let's go to Mesh Display, Reverse, and first thing that I'm going to do is press Control E. Give it a little bit of thickness. Better yet, Z to undo, go back to reverse, and I'm going to scale this thing down much more than I did before. Right, so this is the front and this is the back. I'm going to press Control 1 so that I'm not intersecting with my, what do you call it, with my image plane. And then I'll select the outermost edges here, Control E. I'll click on that green arrow and then drag it out like this. Okay, so what does that do? Just Control 1. It allows me to have that little space there. Now we have to extrude it up, like, towards us. And I want to add edge loops right here. Okay, extrude it up. Alright. So I'll click on the back side here. I'll hold Shift, select this image plane, go into my side view here. I'll press Control 1 and let's go to Mesh Tools, insert Edge Loop Tool option box. I'll click on multiple edge loops and keep it at 2. And then I'll click right here. I'll press R, scale it wide, and alright, so these shapes actually look a little bit off, so I'll press Z to undo. Let's go back to the Insert Edge Loop tool, and I'll click on the equal distance from edge. Actually, hold on. Let's turn off equal multiplier. So I'm not getting what I want. Let's just click one here, and then let's click one right there. But you can see how this edge is like favoring this edge. I don't like that too much, so let's just hold Shift, or just double click, press R, and keep it straight. Keep these guys straight because it actually is straight. Okay, go back into our perspective. Let's select all of these guys. Hold Shift, select these faces. Remember, this is the back side of that object. If memory serves me well, it does go up. Control E, move it up like this, and from here, these two faces, kind of alright, well, let me do one other thing. I'm going to take these two vertices, or edges, vertices along the edge, and scale them wide right there. And this time we'll take those two faces and we're going to extrude them up like this, and I'll press R to scale them like in this direction. So if I go into my front view, I press 4, I'm scaling them to fit right here, and that's pretty much it there. Okay. Now, right here we should bevel this edge. I'll hold Shift, double click. We'll bevel this guy. Now if we don't want to bevel, and we press 3, you can see how it definitely has this, I don't know how to describe the look, but it's not as solid of a shape that we might want it to be. Okay. Like it's hard edges there. If we were to bevel and then we press 3, you kind of get that shape, right? However, I do believe that we can maybe select these two faces here and move them out just a little bit more, and maybe, just maybe, take those vertices here, these vertices here, and if I press 4, I'm not going to scale them in. I think that's perfectly fine. That looks great, 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 great. Okay. Now, in order to get that circular shape in here, I can use like a booleans, or I can take these two shapes, Control E, I'll press R, I'll scale them together like that, press W, move it up, I'll go into my front view here, I'll press R, so let's press 5, press 4 again. Alright, so this this shape, we actually want to turn it into a circle. Alright, bear with me. We're going to do it. Let's just go into Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop Tool, Option Box, Multiple Edge Loops, and change that to 1. Click right down the center. Close that. We'll click this vertex, that 1, 3, 4. I'll press R, and then if we go here, scale it down, there's our circle. Now it's not perfectly aligned to the image by all means, because of lots of reasons, right? But it's cool. Alright, so we take those 4 faces, we'll press Control E, press R, I'll scale it down a little bit like that. You see? I'll press Control E again. R, scale down even more. Okay. Control E, press W, and I'll move it down like this. So I've kind of created myself already an edge loop. Control E again, press W, and move it all the way to the back, and then press delete. So now we have That's it. Pretty cool, right? Alright. Next step is to, let's see. We are going to need to create this shape. Alright, this shape is pretty unique because it's got round parts and then it becomes a little bit like harder shape right there. So visually I see, let's go back to our side view. I'll press Control 1, press 5, and then I'll save it. If I click on this image plane, I'm going to press Control D to move it straight up like that. And let's go ahead and identify some of the shapes that we will need to create. This looks like a cylinder of some kind, a half cylinder. So that half a cylinder is going to look like this. It's going to have its own geometry that looks like that, right? So in the side view, it looks like this. We can take these faces here at the top, extrude them out to create that shape, and then we'll extrude it out even more until it gets about right here. Right, so everything still stays really nice and round, and then at the corners here, the edges, they start to taper and become much harder shape. So for that, we'll do a different method. I want to keep everything like really low poly count, so I'll go to Create Polygon Primitives Sphere. I'll hold Shift and create one right there, about the same width. Okay. So I almost drew it the exact same way. I'll press E. I'll hold J and do that. I'll go into my attribute editor. I'll click on Polysphere Shape, Polysphere, change each one of those guys to 8 and 8. So you can see that it actually is lower poly count. Let's go to face mode, delete half of those guys, delete. And now we can begin extruding to look like that shape. Okay, so let's go to face. I'll highlight these faces, maybe a smaller amount, and let's get rid of that. I'm going to add another edge loop right in here. So if I hold Shift, right mouse click and hold, insert edge loop. Let's add one right there. Now we can select these faces, okay? Control E, I'll press W, I'll move it up, and then I'll press R to make it wider. Okay, and then I'll press delete. So if I move this guy, press E, hold J, rotate it at this angle, move it up here. Go to vertices, kind of match them right there, and looks like it should be a little bit narrower right here, so let's do that. Alright. Okay, now let's go to Mesh Tools, Multi-Cut Tool option box. Let's turn on the edge flow, hold Shift. Let's click here, hold Shift, click there, and then press Enter. Double click, you can press R, scale it wider. Okay, now let's double click this edge, Control E, press W, and then we'll move it down to about right here. Press R, scale it a little bit wider. Now we need to get this like really cool shape there. Control E, W, I'll move it all the way down until we get about here. Press R. And as a matter of fact, I'll just press the plus sign on my keyboard. Once it gets here, like it starts to like flare out. So Control E, press W, and then let's move it about there. Okay. Now I'll press R, I'll scale it a little bit wider this way, and let's take the outermost edges. So let's see. I'll click on this edge, like so, like the edge right down the center. This one, that one, and so I have those edges selected. And then in my top view, press 4. We're going to bring them in like this, you see? So that there's a slight concave to it, right? See? And then this one that way. And then what we'll do here is we'll click on, I want to move this guy a little bit forward, like that. This edge, hold shift, select that one. This one, that one. Almost there. And let's hold shift, right mouse click and hold, bevel. And let's change the segment to value of 2. So it creates a quad right here. Alright. And if you want to get like super technical, you can use that multi-cut tool and go all the way across like that. So we don't have a end-gon right there. Oh, excuse me. So image plane was kind of in our way. Enter, and then again that, if we delete this guy here, that little edge, we get rid of the triangles and create a quad. So we can press 3, that's a shape. Look at that. That looks fresh. Okay. Alright, last but not least is to create this section here. Alright. Let's go into our side view, and I'm actually going to, let's see. This is my 69 Dodge Charger from like the original Fast and the Furious. Yeah, so nice. Okay, so we got the back of our rear view mirror and working on the next section. So let's go into our side view. It's kind of like breaking this thing up piece by piece. Okay. So we have that shape. Now we need to create this shape right here. Let's use the grease pencil tool, and this is a shape that I see, so I'm trying to get this shape right here, right? All of it from there to there. So it's going to look like this, down, over, down, and then it looks like it rounds up like this, goes up, straight across, and then it goes down, back, and then like this. Okay, screenshot that, create curve tool, EP curve tool, option box, and let's make it one linear. And I'll just kind of like zoom in the screen. So I'll click here, hold shift, bring it back, there, right here, and I'll click 1, 2, hold shift, 3, bring it up, over. Actually, I think it should kind of curve down a little bit. And then let's go right there. Enter. So this is the shape that I have. Alright. Hold shift, modify center pivot. I'll hold D, bring that guy right down to the center. You see, right down there. We'll go to surfaces, revolve option box, change this to the Z. Alright, so I'll reset these settings so you know which ones to do. So Z axis, because I want it to revolve around the blue one. Polygon, quads, general, per span number of isoparms on the U and the V type, and we'll change that to 2 to apply. So there we go. There's our shape. Mesh display reverse. Let's go to modify center pivot. I'll press E, hold J. Put this guy right here. Let's get rid of our grease pencil tool. Press W. Now, in our perspective, we're going to move it over like that. And maybe we could just go to vertex mode, move a few of these guys over like that. Move this guy right here. I'll hold V, snap it right there. And then we've got like a screw right there, so I'll just use the existing faces. Control E, move it up, Control E, oops. Control E, press R, make it wider, Control E, press W, move it up, Control E, press R, scale it down, press W, move it up like that. And then there we go. Okay, so that's pretty much how we're gonna do it. I'm not gonna add, I guess we can put the diamond there if you guys really want that. Let's go to create polygon primitives, cube, and then when we have the the side view, hold shift, I'll press E, hold J, press W, I'll hold V to snap it here, go to wireframe unshaded, I'll hold V, and I'll try to get this guy aligned, press R, scale it down. So it's like this guy I want to keep, hold shift, this guy I don't want, mesh, booleans, difference. And that's what we have. If I press 3, it's actually going to look a little not too bad. It's like these two faces, that's actually an N-gon right there, so we want to stay away from these guys, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll select these two, and then we can combine them, or I can just take these edges, move them straight down like that. Usually I would have a little bit cleaner way of doing things, but like I said, I'm on a little bit of a time crunch. And that's it that I have for now. We'll pick up the second part of this tutorial with like modeling that top section here. It's called like the housing unit for this. Let's like both of these guys. Control G, modify center pivot. Let's move it straight down. I'll move it back here. I'll hold Shift to select this guy. Control 1. Click on this guy. Press up arrow. Turn my wireframe on shaded. I'll hold V to snap it right there in the center. Move it up. Press E for the rotation tool. Hold J, and then we'll do that. Press W. Move it back. And that's pretty clean. So I'll hold D. I'll move this guy down right here in the middle. Press R and kind of scale it up to fit in this space. And then with the vertices here, you know, we could simply just kind of press 3, scale them down. It's like these 4. Scale them inward like that, just to make everything feel a little nicer. And then Control 1. So that's it. All right. Like I said, part 2 is going to be creating a housing unit. Select everything here, turn it into a group, scale it down, and put it right back into our 69 Charger. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial.